The Andromeda Peace Station floated serenely in the void, its crystalline spires gleaming with the soft bioluminescence that the galaxy's civilized species found so aesthetically pleasing. Inside its main conference hall, Ambassador Fluffington of the Cottontail Confederation adjusted his silk ceremonial robes with trembling paws. His rabbit-like ears twitched with excitement as he addressed the assembled delegates. Fellow beings of light and wisdom, Fluffington announced, his voice carrying the melodious quality that had made his species the galaxy's preferred mediators. Today marks a historic moment. After 3 centuries of isolation, the mysterious planet Earth has finally agreed to join our peaceful collective. Captain Squeaks of the Velvet Empire nodded enthusiastically, her whiskers quivering with delight. The mouse-descended species had long wondered about the blue marble that had stubbornly refused all diplomatic overtures. Surely they must be philosophers of the highest order, she squeaked to Minister Glowworm of the Luminous Republic, whose entire body pulsed with excited patterns of yellow and green. Indeed, agreed Chancellor Bloom of the Garden Worlds, his flower-like head swaying gently. Any species that takes 300 years to consider joining our peace coalition must possess incredible wisdom and restraint. The assembled delegates representing 47 of the galaxy's most harmonious civilizations buzzed with anticipation. They had prepared their finest poetry, their most delicate musical compositions, and their most profound philosophical treatises to welcome these surely enlightened beings from the Sol system. Then the docking bay doors opened. 3 figures strode into the conference hall with the kind of confident precision that made prey animals instinctively check for exits. They wore identical black suits that fit like second skins, their hair perfectly styled, their shoes polished to mirror brightness. The leader, a tall man with steel-gray eyes and a smile that showed entirely too many teeth, surveyed the room like a shark evaluating a school of fish. "Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient life forms," he said, his voice carrying the kind of smooth confidence that closed deals and buried competitors. "I'm Director Marcus Sullivan, representing Earth's newly formed Department of Interstellar Relations. This is Legal Counsel Victoria Frost," he gestured to a woman whose blue eyes could freeze helium, and Strategic Advisor Tommy Chen, our numbers specialist. Tommy waved cheerfully, clutching a tablet that somehow looked more threatening than most species' weapons. Victoria simply nodded, her smile sharp enough to cut diamonds. Fluffington's ears drooped slightly. Where were the flowing robes? The tentacles? The aura of ancient wisdom? These beings looked like accountants. Very well dressed, very dangerous accountants. "We're absolutely thrilled to be here," Marcus continued, that predatory grin never wavering. "Earth has such high hopes for our future partnership with the galaxy's most compliant civilizations." The word compliant hit the assembled delegates like a cold wind. Somewhere in the back of every prey-evolved brain, ancient alarm bells started ringing. Section 2, Culture Shock and Power Moves. "What a charming little setup you have here," Marcus said, walking slowly around the conference table like he was appraising real estate. His fingers trailed along the polished surface with proprietary interest. Very secure, very isolated, perfect for the kind of frank discussions that build lasting partnerships. Victoria opened a briefcase that looked expensive enough to fund a small moon's defense budget. "Before we begin formal negotiations," she said, her voice carrying the clinical precision of someone who dismantled corporate empires before breakfast, "we should probably address the elephant in the room." "Elephant?" Fluffington whispered nervously to Captain Squeaks. "Is that another Earth species? Are there more of them?" "Oh, it's just an expression," Tommy said helpfully, his tablet chirping as he pulled up files that definitely weren't filled with poetry. "We have lots of colorful sayings. The early bird catches the worm, survival of the fittest, business is war. You know, motivational stuff." Minister Glowworm's bioluminescence flickered erratically. "Did you say business is war?" Figure of speech, Marcus waved dismissively. "Though I suppose there are similarities, competition, strategy, the elimination of redundant market players, but let's not get bogged down in semantics." Victoria placed a stack of documents on the table with the sound of a gavel pronouncing sentence. These are Earth's preliminary observations regarding current galactic governance structures. Fascinating reading, really. Did you know that in the past millennium your collective has successfully resolved exactly 0 territorial disputes through anything resembling decisive action? That's because we believe in peaceful coexistence, Chancellor Bloom protested, his petals wilting slightly. How quaint, Victoria smiled, and the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. Earth has a different approach to conflict resolution. We find that most disagreements can be settled through what we call competitive restructuring. Very efficient. Very efficient. Tommy's fingers danced across his tablet. Our preliminary analysis suggests significant optimization opportunities throughout your current administrative framework. For instance, you have 47 different species handling what we'd consider basic customer service issues. Customer service? Captain Squeak squeaked nervously. Dispute resolution, territory allocation, resource distribution, Marcus explained patiently. What you call diplomacy, we call customer relations. And frankly, your customer satisfaction ratings are abysmal. He pulled out a pen, a beautiful thing, all gleaming metal and precise engineering, and offered it to Fluffington. A small gift from Earth. We have a saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Of course, we also have a saying that goes speak softly and carry a big stick, but we thought we'd start with the subtle approach. Fluffington accepted the pen with trembling paws. It was heavier than expected, and somehow looking at it made him think of contracts written in blood. Earth has such a rich history of conflict resolution, Victoria continued conversationally. We've successfully eliminated approximately 99.9% of our internal territorial disputes through strategic consolidation. You achieved peace? Minister Glowworm asked hopefully. Oh, we achieved results, Tommy said cheerfully, pulling up a holographic display that showed Earth's political map evolution over time. See, the trick is understanding that you can't have territorial disputes if there's only one territory left standing. Very elegant solution, mathematically speaking. The aliens watched in growing horror as the display showed thousands of nations, kingdoms, and city-states being absorbed, conquered, then, or otherwise restructured into increasingly larger political entities. But don't worry, Marcus said, noting their expressions with the satisfaction of someone who'd just landed a particularly devastating opening gambit. We're not here to impose Earth's management style on your charming little collective. We're here to offer our services as consultants. The word consultants somehow sounded more ominous than conquerors. Marcus gestured grandly, and suddenly the conference room's holographic displays came alive with what appeared to be the most professionally terrifying presentation in galactic history. The title slide read, Universal Solutions LLC, your partner in sustainable peace management. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus began, clicking through slides with the smooth confidence of someone who'd pitched hostile takeovers to boardrooms full of sharks. Earth is pleased to present our comprehensive solution to the galaxy's most pressing challenge, inefficient conflict resolution. Victoria stood, her movements predatory in their precision. Current market analysis indicates that your collective spends approximately 43% of its GDP on what you term diplomatic initiatives. Meanwhile, conflict duration averages 127 standard years, with a resolution success rate of just 12%. Tommy's holographic charts painted a picture that made even the most mathematically challenged delegate understand they were looking at a disaster. From a pure efficiency standpoint, he added cheerfully, your current system is what we'd call suboptimal. Actually, we have stronger words for it, but Victoria says I can't use them in mixed company. We prefer the term catastrophically dysfunctional, Victoria said with a smile that could shatter asteroids. Minister Glowworm's bioluminescence was now pulsing in what could only be described as panic patterns. But we value the journey toward peace as much as the destination itself. The process teaches us patience, understanding, compassion. That's adorable, Marcus interrupted, advancing to the next slide, Earth Solutions, Case Studies in Operational Excellence. The display filled with images that made several delegates faint and others seriously consider career changes. Take our resolution of the American Civil War. Marcus continued conversationally. 4 years, decisive conclusion, integrated market solution. Or consider our handling of the European theater in World War II, complex multi-party dispute resolved through strategic alliance building and competitive elimination of redundant leadership structures. You're talking about wars, Captain Squeaks whispered, her tiny voice barely audible. We're talking about results, Victoria corrected smoothly. Earth has successfully reduced the number of active territorial disputes on our planet from several thousand to exactly 0. 0, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we call a perfect track record. Tommy pulled up a fee structure that looked like it had been designed by accountants who moonlighted as supervillains. Our proposal is elegantly simple. Earth will establish Universal Solutions LLC as the Galaxy's premier conflict resolution service. Think of us as outsourced peace management. For a modest consultation fee, Marcus continued, calculated as a percentage of your current defense spending, let's call it 75%, adjusted for inflation and administrative overhead, will handle all future disputes through our proven methodologies. The numbers on Tommy's display kept climbing, and several delegates were making small whimpering sounds. The beauty of our system, Tommy explained, is scalability. Whether you're dealing with a minor trade disagreement or a full-scale territorial dispute, we apply the same core principles: rapid assessment, strategic intervention, and permanent solution implementation. What exactly does permanent solution implementation entail? Chancellor Bloom asked, though his tone suggested he really didn't want to know. Well, Marcus said, clicking to a slide titled Service Level Agreements, our standard package includes conflict analysis, stakeholder negotiation, strategic resource reallocation, and what we call dispute termination with extreme prejudice. Victoria's smile could have powered a small star. The termination part is usually metaphorical. Usually. And if a client is unsatisfied with our services? Fluffington asked weakly. Oh, we offer a full satisfaction guarantee, Tommy said brightly. If any party remains unsatisfied after our intervention, we'll continue our consultation process until satisfaction is achieved, or until there's no one left to be unsatisfied, whichever comes first. The room fell silent except for the soft sound of several species' life support systems working overtime. Questions? Marcus asked with the cheerful confidence of someone who'd just offered to sell fire insurance to a paper warehouse. Captain Squeak stood on her tiny hind legs, whiskers quivering with righteous indignation. This is preposterous. We are civilized beings. We solve conflicts through dialogue, mutual understanding, and the sharing of interpretive dance. How's that working out for you? Victoria asked mildly, consulting her tablet. According to our research, the cottontail velvet border dispute has been in active negotiation for 87 years. The primary sticking point appears to be disagreement over the proper pronunciation of the word territorial boundary in your respective languages. That's a very complex cultural issue, Fluffington began. That could be resolved in 5 minutes with what we call executive decision-making, Marcus interrupted. But please continue with your coalition building. We find resistance makes the eventual acceptance phase so much more satisfying. The delegates huddled together like prey animals sensing a storm, and Captain Squeaks emerged as their unlikely spokesperson. We reject your proposal entirely. The Galaxy's civilized species will never submit to your corporate barbarism. Counterproposal noted and filed under initial negotiation resistance, Tommy said, making notes on his tablet. Victoria, I think this calls for the PowerPoint. Victoria's smile turned predatory. Oh, I was hoping you'd say that. The holographic display shifted, and suddenly the delegates were facing a presentation that would haunt their nightmares for generations to come. The title slide read, Earth's Greatest Hits, a Corporate Success Story Quarterly Performance Review, Civilization Division. Let's start with some context, Marcus said, advancing to a slide showing Earth from space. Population, 8 billion. Distinct cultural groups at first contact, approximately 15,000. Current distinct cultural groups, effectively 0. The next slide showed a time lapse of human civilization that played like a horror movie directed by efficiency consultants. Notice the smooth consolidation process Victoria narrated. Small tribal units merge into larger governmental structures, which then absorb or eliminate competing entities through market-driven selection pressures. What you're showing us is genocide, Minister Glowworm said, his bioluminescence now strobing in alarm patterns. We prefer aggressive market consolidation, Tommy corrected cheerfully. Much better optics for the quarterly reports. Though I suppose from the consolidated party's perspective, the distinction might seem academic. Marcus clicked through slides showing Earth's military history with the casual air of someone reviewing sales figures. Persian Empire, hostile takeover. Roman Empire, market expansion through competitive acquisition. Mongol Empire, rapid horizontal integration. British Empire, global supply chain optimization. Each case study demonstrates humanity's core competitive advantage, Victoria explained. We don't just resolve conflicts, we eliminate the underlying conditions that generate conflicts in the first place. How? Captain Squeaks asked, though she clearly dreaded the answer. Simple, Marcus said, arriving at a slide titled Strategic Solutions Implementation. You can't have territorial disputes if there's only one territory. You can't have resource conflicts if there's only one resource allocation authority. You can't have cultural disagreements if there's only one culture. The next series of slides showed Earth's approach to diplomatic outreach, gunboat diplomacy, economic warfare, cultural imperialism, and what Tommy cheerfully termed competitive evangelism. Our success rate speaks for itself, Victoria said, pulling up statistics that made several delegates quietly excuse themselves to be sick. Earth has never failed to resolve a conflict we've been asked to mediate. Granted, the original disputants aren't always around to enjoy the resolution, but that's just proof of our thoroughness. The beauty of the human approach, Marcus continued, is scalability. These same principles that unified Earth can be applied at any level, planetary, system-wide, or galactic. Think of it as franchise opportunities. Tommy's final slide showed projected growth curves that resembled the trajectories of very large explosions. Based on our preliminary assessment, we estimate total galactic peace could be achieved within 50 standard years, with a projected administrative overhead reduction of 98.7%. Administrative overhead reduction? Fluffington asked weakly. Current bureaucratic personnel, Victoria explained helpfully. 47 different diplomatic corps, defense departments, cultural liaison offices, very wasteful. Much more efficient to handle everything through a single, centralized authority. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't looking at consultants. They were looking at the galaxy's newest apex predators, and these predators had somehow turned conquest into a quarterly earnings report. The emergency session convened at 3 a.m. ship time, when the humans had supposedly retired to their quarters to review projections and optimize deployment strategies. The galaxy's most peaceful species huddled together in the conference room like survivors of a particularly polite apocalypse. They want to buy the galaxy, Captain Squeaks said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not conquer it. Buy it. With payment plans and performance metrics. The horror of it is that it makes perfect sense, Minister Glowworm admitted, his bioluminescence dim with despair. From an efficiency standpoint, human intervention would resolve every outstanding dispute in the galaxy. By eliminating everyone involved in the disputes, Chancellor Bloom added mournfully. Fluffington stood at the head of the table, his ceremonial robes now wrinkled with stress. We have to offer them something. Anything. Maybe if we give them what they want, they'll just go away. What do they want? Squeaked a delegate from the Harmony circles. Everything, Victoria Frost said from the doorway. The delegates spun around to find all three humans standing there with the casual confidence of people who owned the room and everyone in it. Marcus stepped forward, straightening his tie with the precision of someone preparing for the kill. "Sorry to interrupt your strategic planning session," he said with a smile that suggested he wasn't sorry at all. "But we couldn't help overhearing your deliberations through the completely unsecured communication network you've been using." Tommy held up his tablet, which was displaying a real-time transcript of everything the delegates had said. Very touching, really. The part where Captain Squeaks called us corporate demons in 1,000-credit suits was particularly creative. "We've been thinking about your counter-proposal," Victoria said, settling into a chair with the fluid grace of someone who'd crashed more boardrooms than most species had attended. "And we'd like to make a counter-proposal." "You haven't heard our counter-proposal yet," Fluffington protested weakly. "Sure we have," Marcus said, pulling out his phone and playing back a recording of their supposedly private conversation. "You want to offer us everything we asked for in exchange for us going away and never coming back. It's a reasonable negotiation strategy, if you were dealing with reasonable people." "Unfortunately for you," Victoria continued, "we're not reasonable people. We're humans. We turned warfare into quarterly performance reviews and conquest into customer acquisition strategies. Reasonable went extinct on Earth around the time we figured out how to make fire." Tommy's tablet chirped cheerfully. "The good news is we were never actually planning to conquer the galaxy through military force. That would be terribly inefficient, not to mention expensive." The delegates exchanged confused glances. "Then what do you want?" Minister Glowworm asked. Marcus leaned back in his chair with the satisfied expression of someone about to deliver the punchline to the galaxy's longest joke. "We want exactly what we got. We want 47 different species so terrified of human efficiency that they'll pay us protection money just to avoid finding out what Earth's military is actually capable of." The silence that followed was profound enough to achieve its own gravitational field. "You see," Victoria explained with the patience of someone educating particularly slow children, "Earth never developed faster than light travel. We don't have planet-killing weapons. Hell, our entire fleet consists of 3 converted cargo haulers and a space station that's mostly duct tape and optimism." "But you do have something much more valuable," Tommy added, still cheerfully crunching numbers. "You have 47 species that are absolutely convinced we're the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. And that belief is worth more than any weapon." Marcus stood, smoothing his suit jacket. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to establish Earth as the galaxy's official conflict resolution consultant. You're going to pay us a modest fee for this service, let's call it tribute, since we're all friends here. And in exchange, we promise not to demonstrate just how creative human problem-solving can get." "And if we refuse?" Captain Squeaks asked, though her voice suggested she already knew the answer. "Then we'll be very disappointed," Victoria said with a smile that could have flash-frozen a star. "And when humans get disappointed, we tend to start thinking about alternative career paths. Military consulting, for instance. Strategic resource acquisition. Competitive diplomacy." "Competitive diplomacy?" Fluffington whispered. "It's like regular diplomacy," Tommy explained helpfully, "except the losing side doesn't get to participate in future negotiations on account of the not existing anymore." Marcus walked to the conference room's main display and pulled up a contract that looked like it had been written by lawyers from several different circles of hell. "So, shall we make this official? Earth is prepared to offer very reasonable rates for our consultation services." The delegates stared at the contract, then at the humans, then at each other. Slowly, inevitably, Fluffington reached for Marcus's pen. "Excellent choice," Marcus said as the ambassador signed. "Welcome to the new Galactic Order. We think you're going to love our customer service." 6 months later, Marcus Sullivan sat in his corner office aboard the newly christened Peace Station Alpha. his feet propped up on a desk made from what used to be the Andromeda Peace Station's ceremonial podium. Through the viewport, he could see the steady stream of diplomatic vessels arriving for their scheduled harmony maintenance consultations, a phrase Tommy had coined during one of his more inspired moments of corporate doublespeak. "How are the numbers looking?" he asked Victoria, who was reviewing quarterly reports with the satisfied expression of someone who'd just discovered that fear was the most reliable currency in the galaxy. "Better than projected," she replied, not looking up from her tablet. The Cottontail Confederation paid their tribute 6 weeks early, and they included a gratitude bonus for our inspirational leadership. Captain Squeaks personally delivered a case of their finest honey wine with a note saying, "Please don't optimize us." Tommy looked up from his workstation, where multiple screens showed real-time diplomatic activity across the galaxy. "Best part is, we haven't had to actually resolve a single conflict. Everyone's so terrified of requiring our services that they're handling everything through what they call preemptive harmony maintenance." "Preemptive harmony maintenance?" Marcus asked, though his tone suggested he already knew he was going to love the answer. "Basically, if two species have even the slightest disagreement, they immediately surrender all disputed territory to a neutral third party rather than risk having the dispute escalate to a level that might require human intervention," Tommy explained gleefully. "The Garden Worlds have become the galaxy's largest landowner just by agreeing to mediate arguments about asteroid mining rights." Marcus pulled up the daily intelligence briefing on his personal screen, scrolling through reports that read like love letters written by very nervous alien bureaucrats. "Listen to this one," he said, clearing his throat theatrically. "The Luminous Republic wishes to inform Earth's Department of Interstellar Relations that the minor cultural disagreement regarding ceremonial light patterns has been resolved through voluntary consensus. No human consultation required. Please update your files accordingly. With deepest respect. And sincere hopes for continued non-intervention." Victoria actually laughed a sound so rare that Tommy looked up from his calculations in surprise. "Minister Glowworm sends us fruit baskets every month," she said. "Apparently their entire species now considers gift-giving to humans a religious obligation." "Speaking of religious obligations," Tommy added, pulling up another screen. "Did you see that the Harmony Circles have officially added avoiding human attention as the 11th sacred principle of peaceful coexistence?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, watching the peaceful ballet of interstellar commerce playing out beyond the viewport. Ships moving in orderly patterns, trade flowing smoothly, disputes being resolved through strongly worded memos rather than anything that might require professional intervention. It was beautiful, really. "You know what the best part is?" he said, gesturing toward the viewport where a formation of alien patrol ships was conducting what they diplomatically termed voluntary security drills, but which everyone understood to be, "Please don't let the humans think we need help with our defense capabilities." "The complete lack of paperwork," Victoria guessed. "The automatic payment processing," Tommy suggested. "No," Marcus said, his smile widening to show exactly the right number of teeth to make any watching alien diplomat nervously double-check their tribute payment schedule. "The best part is that we convinced an entire galaxy to pay us protection money not because we threatened them, but because we made them threaten themselves." He stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at a galaxy that had never been more peaceful, more prosperous, or more thoroughly terrified of disappointing middle management. "Earth didn't conquer the galaxy through superior firepower," he said, adjusting his tie with the same precision he'd used to adjust the balance of galactic power. "We didn't need planet killers or battle fleets or any of that crude, expensive nonsense." Victoria joined him at the viewport, her reflection showing the satisfied expression of someone who'd turned an entire galaxy into a customer base. "We conquered it through the most devastating weapon in humanity's arsenal." "Corporate consulting?" Tommy asked. "Corporate consulting," Marcus confirmed, raising his coffee mug in a toast to the most efficiently terrifying peace the galaxy had ever known. Outside, another diplomatic vessel approached the station, its hull bearing the diplomatic insignia of a species so eager to avoid human attention that they'd changed their name to the humble and completely uninteresting Federation. Marcus watched them dock with the careful precision of people who really didn't want to do anything that might be interpreted as requiring professional consultation. "You have to admire the elegance of it," Victoria said, reviewing the latest batch of tribute payments that had arrived ahead of schedule. 47 species, all working together in perfect harmony, all absolutely convinced that the alternative is too horrible to contemplate. Marcus nodded, taking a sip of coffee that had been imported at great expense by a species that was desperately hoping to demonstrate their commitment to human satisfaction. In the distance, he could see the lights of the galaxy's most peaceful trade routes, but where disputes were resolved through polite negotiation and everyone made absolutely sure to file their paperwork on time. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, raising his mug toward the viewport, "I give you the most successful protection racket in galactic history. And the best part, our customers convinced themselves they needed our services." The galaxy had never been more at peace. Everyone was so busy trying not to attract human attention that they'd accidentally created the most efficient civilization in recorded history. And somewhere in a corner office aboard Peace Station Alpha, 3 humans in perfectly tailored suits continued to prove that the most dangerous predators weren't the ones with the biggest teeth. They were the ones who could convince everyone else that they had bigger teeth than they actually did, and that those teeth came with quarterly performance reviews.